Hi, my beautiful friends. This is Valerie, and today I'm going to be talking about fear and what it means in relation to your manifesting. And recently, a few of my colleagues in Facebook who are manifesting mentors and coaches have talked about fear. So I wanted to jump in with my perspective on it. And it's fun when the dialogue starts to move around because everybody has their own way of seeing it. But first, be sure to subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. And also you can find me on Instagram as joyful.manifesting. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook. And let's dive in. So, years ago, I took a meditation retreat, the title of which was The True Courage Going Beyond Fear. So it's a very essential topic in anything that relates to spirituality and the imagination, the mind, manifesting your state of consciousness, that drives your feelings, your emotions, and your thoughts, and your words. Everything comes out of your state. And of course, behind that state is your fundamental I am God. That it doesn't get any further than that. That is your big state right there. And fear comes up because it's something that we want to confront, or we want to feel that it doesn't affect us. But of course it does. Our whole mindset has been, since the very beginning of humanity, has been conditioned to feel fear as a threat from the outside, or a perceived threat from the outside, especially if some creature was possibly going to chase after you and devour you. So that's something that cave people, the early people, have had to deal with. And to this day, we still feel that something is outside of us that is going to come. It might be the boogeyman that comes in the night or whatever that we're scared of. But it's definitely something that is perceived and brings us to a state of fearfulness, which has led in the New Age terms to saying acronyms like fear, the letters of fear, FEAR, forgetting everything's all right is one of them. There's a few others, but that's been a big one. So you want to take a look at what does that mean, because when we're forgetting everything's all right, we're giving many costumes and disguises to fear. It can come as anxiety or worry. Things that we are afraid of are going to happen. The mind state that we're occupying is generating fear about what we think is going to happen, that we're going to lose our job, or lose our home, be evicted, get sick, whatever it is that we're afraid is going to happen, lose our relationship. It's usually a fear of loss, a fear of abandonment. It can be the memory of a fear, like a PTSD situation where there was a severe trauma, and it comes back. We bring it we're moving it from the past into the future, so it comes with us as another kind of fear that then gets projected onto something in the now, or that we think is going to come up in a future time, which is moving the now into a forward place. It can come up as anger, fear that something or someone is going to has been working against you, and whatever is behind the anger. It can be a fear of looking foolish. It can be a fear of looking foolish, inept, awkward, clumsy. What very often people go to yoga class or a Pilates class or some other kind of intense fitness, and they're afraid. They go in the back. Most people start off the class, maybe that's been you, where when you're new in a class, you tend to go as far to the back of the room as you think you can get. You're almost out the back door. You're so far in the back, kind of hiding in the shadows, and which actually, as an instructor for 20 years, a yoga instructor, I would always ask people to come, if they wouldn't mind, more to the front so I can see them better from where I'm sitting at the front of the room, or if I'm moving around, I go to the back and I'm going to see them, because you want to assist someone who's new as much as possible so they feel comfortable getting started. So this is one of the ironies that we kind of have that we're dealing with here, but there it is, that fear that we don't really want to be seen, and the fear of looking stupid, fear of a fear of technology. There's a whole bunch of these things that we kind of put under other labels. Oh, I'm a technophobe, or I'm uncomfortable learning that, or I feel overwhelmed about it. Or, and this is something also very much a part of society, we have to look like we know the answer all the time. It's like a state that we have where we think we have to look that we're always smart, even, we're like afraid to not know the answer to something. Then you have other states, like a control freak who has a fear of being ignored or not noticed. So they want to get their hands into everything and run the show for everything. It can be a pleaser state. I wrote a book on both. The pleasers and control freaks are two sides of one coin, because in the pleaser state, you might have a fear of abandonment, not so different from what a control freak might be feeling. And you're trying to control everything. And in order to please somebody, you're trying to make everything be perfect all the time. In dating, we have ghosting, and that can be a fear of too much connection. It's kind of a fear of starting to feel something. So rather than have to deal with all those messy emotions, we leave. We're on to the next thing. So there's really a lot of things that fear can stand for, and which is why the great Winston Churchill during World War II, who was the Prime Minister of England, made a famous speech where he said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself," because he wanted to rally the people of England against the Nazi Germany. So it was a very important statement, but it really is true. We want to, if we're going to look at your fear. Fear, you want to be afraid to be afraid, but we don't even want to be that. We really want to go beyond that. As important as that has been, and as it's come down in history as being a very major statement, at the same time, what did that meditation intensive retreat that I did 30 years ago, back in 1990, which was right when I was getting on what's called a spiritual path. And when I was getting on that path, it was called, why did I happen to pick that one? Because fear was a big issue in my life. And it came up for me around a lot of things. And it also means that when you are anchored in your state of I am, be still and know I am God. That is you as the operant power, as Neville Goddard teaches. And when you are anchored in that, knowing you are God, then you are in what's called sometimes, you're like the eye of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, so that everything moves through you and you can remain what's sometimes called even-minded or calm or unperturbed. Sometimes it's referred to as non-attachment to outcomes. So good things come through, you're in a calm, comfortable state to receive them. When you're in when something challenging or difficult comes through, you're equally in a calm, unruffled state. So there's a certain amount of patience involved, there's calmness involved, there's an even-minded quality involved. But how does that relate to manifesting? So recently, my friend Rose Lawrence, Dr. Rose, of the Rosie Life, made a great talk that she did a video on. And I can have the link for that in my notes because I think it's a very important talk. And she talked about being able to make friends with your fears and take a look at them and be able to welcome them for what they're teaching you about yourself and to pay attention to them. And then a short time after that, my friend Allison Coughlin, who's also a wonderful mentor and teacher of the Facebook group, Know the Truth and Live Your Best Life. And she posted a comment from a great Zen Buddhist monk and teacher named Thich Nhat Hanh. He was from, I believe, Vietnam. And he also talks about getting to know your fears. It was quite a lengthy talk, but actually the sum of it was very similar to what Rose was talking about. But it also means that you have to be able to be not only confident, but kind of vulnerable. And it's not a bad state to be vulnerable. We think it means we're weak or we're soft or we're pushovers, but actually it means that you can kind of yield and be flexible and be fluid and be able to give. And that's also very important, especially in surrender and give up and give over to God to move through you. So these things are all related, and they're all related into manifesting. Now, what happens is that when you start really looking at things that you're afraid of, you're really starting to shift your state, because the state that created the fear and brought that to life, you start to shift out of that, because now you're in a state where you're looking at the fear. So what happens when the mind turns more in on itself, the mind isn't going to hold up. It's whatever fear was gripping you collapses. You know, it's like you took a pin and you punctured a balloon. Or if you think about it in the Hispanic culture, the piñata that they have at the party is like in the shape of a donkey or an elephant or something, and then they, or a pig, and then they pierce it with the pin, and boom, the whole thing pops and goes completely empty. But what comes out of the piñata, and this is why I love this particular analogy, is that it's full of goodies. It's full of all kinds of little gifties for all the people at the party. So, candy and whatever else they put in their little toys and all kind of stuff. So the reason that's great is that it starts showing you things. So those are like all the gifts that come out of the piñata when it's punctured. So this gives it a different quality altogether, and you can start to look and say, was I really afraid of this? Was I really thinking this was this? Was this really making me that unhappy, sad, scared, and miserable? So you start to turn that around. Bet you didn't expect that was coming, that you can really say, wow, I am not those fears, I'm not those thoughts, and I'm not those emotions. I am God having this adventure. This is the lifetime adventure that my mentor 2020 always says. He says, you are God having the adventure of a lifetime. And it's absolutely the case. When you say that and you discover that, and you shift your state, you can notice really how your body feels, that the weight that you were carrying that was gripping you, the fear, just lifts, and you start to lighten up. It just changes everything. And really pay attention to that when you do feel your fear or you look at your fear and you start to dance with it. We like to, we talk a lot about in 2020's community, Law of Attraction by Neville Goddard, that you're playing, that you're dancing with whatever it is in front of you. And then it makes it so much easier to use a technique like revision. If your memory of something is that it was scary, hard, upset, difficult, you go back in and you can, when you're in your state akin to sleep, when you're doing a Feel It Real session, you can just relax. And at the end of the day, play with whatever that is in your state and rewrite it. Just make that memory go the way you wanted it to go, that it really starts to change that. What happens also when you're in a fear state, you're afraid to feel. We can't feel the confidence. We can't feel the softness, the comfort, the fun, the playfulness. And all of these things are important and interconnected. So that way, when you take a look at how you're feeling, when you notice what it's creating and how you can change it, just like literally in a moment by changing your state. And you can give yourself time if you need it. It can be as fast as you want, but if you feel like, wait a minute, I'm going in a direction I don't feel comfortable with, I'm in a crap state, how do I get it to be uncrappy? Then you want to relax and come back into your essential I am God, because that's what you are. So you come back into that state, you relax, you allow it, and then from there you can move. This is what Alison Coughlin does, and she recommends that, and I'm highly in favor of doing that too, because you want to relax and be assured that you're moving comfortably. You just know, it's really that you absolutely know. Now, yes, as I say, we knew the past has a survival function, but you're in the now. You want to stay in the now. And when it starts to come to you, you might think you have fears because of something someone says. Remember that, as Neville tells us, everyone is you pushed out. It's a reflection of what you're feeling. So those are my thoughts, suggestions, enjoyment, things to enjoy. And you can really flip out of a fear state. You can move away from a fear state very quickly, so that you can go back to being your strong self, moving into receiving your desire. As Neville tells us, God speaks to man through the medium of his desire, or certainly her desire. His was a general way of saying it, but God speaks to man through the medium of his desire. So know that as soon as you desire something, it's already yours, and the path is just there for you to get to it. It just hangs out, and it's there for you to come together with it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. And also I am starting a small group coaching that I would like to start really soon, possibly by the end of this month. It might start a little later. I have 4 slots open and it's going to be at the beta price, a very nominal price. So if you are interested and you would like to get in on this, I have 4 spots left. It's going to be a very small group, and just put a note in the comments, let me know. And you can also send me a DM on Facebook, or message me on Instagram under joyful.manifesting. And I will see you again real soon. Much love.